Hi guys, a very good day to you. Today I'm going to make a video on Tesla. I have a lot of friends who often talk to me about various things. I was thinking of making videos on Bitcoin and the future and so on and so forth. I would be doing that as well, but I think it would be a good talking point or a reference point if I start my conversations or make some videos in relation to, for example, various things which are happening. So this is interesting. Let me begin this with a quote. Sorry, from Peter Thiel. We asked for flying cars. Instead, we got 140 characters. With these words, Peter Thiel, the famous Silicon Valley investor, whom I have talked to in relation to him, I've talked to various of my friends, has joined legions of people who consider that innovation in the past few years has slowed down somewhat. Although at the time of a great revolutionary invention seem to be have been left behind anonymous for a stationary stuff or a stationary ask it seems like a good example of the slowdown, and the best example of the slowdown in innovation probably comes from the automotive industry. So basically, if you look at it for the past few decades, it has been pretty much static. It hasn't changed a lot. Cars are kind of same. They have similar performances, have similar safety features and so on and so forth. But I'm not talking about a very simple industry. It's one of the biggest industries in the world, and it takes a lot of time to actually change it. However, this industry per se is going through one of its biggest transformations. And this transformation can possibly compare to the transformation which was made by Henry Ford in the early 20th century, when he started to use assembly line to, mass produce cars. So basically, there are two key changes which are happening to the car industry. One is that we have seen the advent of electric cars. And the second thing that we've seen is the autonomous car. Now, when you think of these two things, the first company, the biggest company which comes to your head is mostly Tesla. Tesla is the company of electric cars that has managed to dazzle investors as well as governments, consumers. It's kind of interesting to see what Tesla has done and what is the kind of challenges this company is going to see. Because it's just been started in the year 2003, and its mission was to produce an electric car capable of, competing and defeating internal combustion engines, which have been basically been ruling this planet since the year 1870. So that being said, it's been close to 140, 150 odd years since the time internal combustion engines have been big. Now, if you look at Tesla, what has it got? It has only been able to bring out Tesla Roadster, Tesla Model S, Model X, Model 3, and the Tesla Semi. So if we just take a look at the lineup, it's not huge, right? Looking at close to 140, 200 odd cars, which big groups have out there in the market. This seems or sounds like very, very small. But now here is the dynamics. If you would have bought a Tesla share in the year 2010 when it got listed, you would be sitting at 18 times, you heard me right, 18 times the price right now. For example, if you would have bought Tesla shares for $1,000 in the year 2010, right now in 2017, 17 years later, you would be sitting at $18,000. So, and right as I speak right now, Tesla is already competing with Google, Apple, Amazon, presently to compete for the number one spot right now as we speak in the US market of the most valuable companies. So it's kind of surprising to see that a company like Tesla is worth more than $50 billion than, let's say, Ford, which is a traditional company and has been selling a lot of cars and is like kind of in the territory of almost General Motors, which was at one point of time the world's largest car maker. And you can actually check that graph in Business Insider as well. And it's kind of surprising the rise of Tesla has been in the last 14 years since the time it actually offered its first car in the market. Now, just to give you a perspective of a year, General Motors sells close to 10 million cars a year, if I take 2016, and Ford manages to exceed 6.6 million cars a year. Now, compare that with Tesla. Tesla in 2016 sold 76,000 cars. That is correct. If you have not heard it correctly, let me repeat, it's 76,000 cars. So just to give you an idea, Tesla is not even selling 10% of the cars that General Motors manages to sell. In fact, forget 10%, even 1% for that matter. But just to give you an idea, like you would be wondering, like, hey, you know what, Tesla is probably a luxury car because it's pretty expensive, Model S and all that. Well, even if it's true, even the company Porsche, it manages to sell 3 times the number of cars Tesla does. So I don't actually buy the logic that, because it's probably too expensive or because it's too luxury, it's not selling. Yes, there is some truth to the fact that the supercharger network is still building up. And now as we speak, this year, finally, the supercharger network is very active in almost all the states, California, and for example, Silicon Valley. You see more superchargers now probably than gas stations over there. But all said and done, it's very hard to believe that a company can can compete with General Motors, assuming that General Motors sold cars worth $170 billion in the year 2016, while Tesla only managed $10 billion. Now, I don't know what is happening because Tesla per se does not have very high margins and it's not earning lots of money that people would be expecting. In fact, since the time the company has been founded, it has not earned money a single year. And that is correct. Tesla has been in losses. In fact, it is a cash burning machine as we speak right now. So why would the world say that the Tesla stock is so high? Why is it so successful? Well, the answer is very simple. The people are basically betting on the technology revolution that they're going to build in. I'll give you an example. For example, in the year 2016, there are more than 2 million electric cars in the world as we speak right now, and they're growing the sale is growing at the rate of 60%. Now compare that with the gasoline cars or the diesel cars. For example, diesel cars, now the sale has started to fall in Europe. It wasn't that popular per se in other geographies as well, and the total gasoline powered cars would probably in the year 2018 for the first time see a drop in the sales itself. But that itself does not warrant the fact that Tesla should be so high at a valuation level. It is true that by the year 2025 to 2030, it is predicted that the conventional electric car would be cheaper than the conventional internal combustion car without any government subsidies. But there are still some reasons which kind of don't prove why Tesla should be at a high. Now, a lot of countries itself, they've started to bet big time on electric car. China is there. As you already know, China itself is betting on this. JAC and BYD, two of the biggest car producers in China, are already big time into this market and they're trying to tap into it. India would be starting its electric car revolution because Narendra Modi he was there at Tesla and he himself is a big fan of electric car. Already the city of Nagpur has started testing, and Tata has won the contract for I forgot the number of a certain number of cars for the city of Delhi and Nagpur itself. So India and China would be the next two big car markets which would be driving the electric car sales in the next 5 to 10 years. The catch is Tesla is not in any of them right now as I speak. Tesla would be there in China. They have got an amazing deal with the Chinese government in relation to production and selling of cars, but that would be difficult because right now if we go at the investors report, they have to ramp themselves up from a few 100,000 cars inside 2017 to 500,000 cars. That's like almost, looking at the present numbers, 5 times the capacity in the next 3 years, and 1 million cars by 2022. Again, you might say it seems like we're talking about Apple of the automotive sector, right? Well, uh, but you know what? Not everything that surrounds Tesla is doing that great. In fact, Tesla has been burning a lot of money. It's not profitable. The company loses money every day, and the bigger problem is that you can't even, for example, compare it with Amazon. You know, the way Amazon was in the year 2010. You know, in fact, Tesla, since its inception, has swallowed absolutely everything that has entered in it, and the money from the car sales as well has actually been swallowed by the company, plus for $10 billion above that. So the truth is that Tesla, for example, in the year 2017, in the first 9 months, that means till the month of September itself, was actually down by $4 billion. So they had actually gone ahead and used $4 billion. And if you go and try to just type in on Google non-financial debt of Tesla, it's been going through the roof, and that's a huge problem for Tesla. You know, suppliers are not getting paid on time. The It's absolutely skyrocketing the kind of payments that Tesla has to pay them, and Tesla roughly loses $16 million every single day. Now that's a lot of money, because that includes the financial servicing costs that Tesla has to give, plus the kind of penalty that Tesla has to pay to the government for not being able to reach its numbers right now. Tesla itself is also having some problems in the Model 3, which was the $35,000 car, which I'm sure a lot of you must have heard about. Only 260 of them were delivered last year, and they have a lot of production bottlenecks. Now compare this story with someone else. Like, for example, let's take Renault Nissan. Renault launched a car Zoe in Europe, which is a big hit. In fact, it's the #1 selling electric car over here, and it sells more than Tesla. The electric car which has sold the maximum model, you will be surprised, is not Tesla, but it's actually Chevy Bolt. That is correct. General Motors, a company which was not that keen on kind of selling the electric image that much, because they're still doing the gasoline powered cars, was the #1, followed by one of my favorites, Nissan Leaf. So it's kind of surprising and interesting to see how Tesla is going to manage the show over here. And not only that, Tesla started to have production problems. They've basically dismissed staff. They have been firing people this year, and there have been two major, how should I say, events on which people have been fired. And that is happening in a company which is actually not being able to meet its production numbers. So that kind of actually, brings a problem, because then people say, hey, you know what, this could be something like Nokia and BlackBerry against Apple. But I would still not compare it to Apple right now, because I will give you an example. You know, Apple was a groundbreaking product. If you think about Tesla Semi, the people have already started to say that Daimler has stolen the thunder from Tesla in heavy duty electric truck already. Though Tesla has sold 20 semis to Walmart, Daimler has already got a fixed deal with UPS as we speak. And not only that, the next gen battery power packs that Daimler is developing for the trucks is supposed to be much more better, as that's what I've heard from people, is that it's supposed to be much more better than what Tesla is planning to bring in the semis right now. The other problem is that the Tesla semis would actually not come into the market for some time, right? But Daimler is already there, and that's the biggest problem. Tesla per se is not able to meet its production number, and it's not able to normally meet its production timeline. So coming back to what how people said, like, you know what, there was BlackBerry and there was Nokia and there was Apple, and Apple kind of disrupted the market and Nokia and BlackBerry went out of business. I would actually like to quote Steve Ballmer here directly, who was the CEO of Microsoft when Apple came out with iPhone, and he said, $500. I said, that is the most expensive phone in the world, and it does not appeal to business customers because it doesn't have a keyboard, which makes it not a very good email machine right now. We are selling millions and millions and millions of phones a year. Apple is selling 0 phones a year. In 6 months, let's see how the competition goes. So Steve Ballmer actually said this about Apple, and I think if your product is like really, really disruptive, so much so that even the competition predicts that you're going to fail, then you're actually someone who's a disruptor in the market. I per se cannot say that right now about Tesla, partly because of the fact that in the year 2018 we have some very interesting models coming up, like Jaguar F-Pace and some other cars too. So this is going. The problem with Tesla is it is a great innovator. You listen to stuff by Elon Musk and it seems directly out of a science fiction book. But here's where the problem is. It's about the execution. You can make great rockets for SpaceX. You can do excellent work as far as Hyperloop is concerned. But looking at the fact that Elon Musk as an entrepreneur, probably apart from PayPal, has not exactly been very profitable, is something that can be a very, very big question in the future. Now, so if everything that I say doesn't mean that Tesla is doomed for future, I don't think so. Partly because of the fact that, great companies are known by the fact that they're able to turn around things. I mean, there are a lot of examples in the history where companies have taken up a business model, completely turned it on its head, and they've come out great. Has that happened very often? Not really. In fact, and I will actually like to quote, Andres Kobus, he's a fund manager, and he says that that basically, I won't bet on Tesla as an investor. I think it will be very difficult for Tesla to survive through what it is going right now. Partly because of the fact that it has invested a lot in the Gigafactory, which is coming up with Panasonic, but only 1/3 of the capacity is working. So what does that mean? It basically means that the future of electric cars is great, but there's a very high chance that traditional car makers like General Motors, like Renault, like Nissan, like Toyota, which is working on its solid-state battery car for the year 2020, or like others, who are coming up, would probably survive this. But Tesla per se, there's a very high chance would actually end up concentrating on its other businesses like SpaceX and Hyperloop. So that's more or less about from me. If you like anything, if you want to talk about it, I'll be more than happy to read what you say. Please comment, like, share, subscribe to my videos. I will be putting more interesting stuff as well. I'm definitely going to talk a little bit about Latin American politics and economics in the next upcoming videos. Thanks a lot. You have a great day. Bye-bye.